Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome back to episode 539 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight, the shenanigans at the Oscars have continued, which makes me ever more thankful that we have our wonderful and coveted Raven Awards show, of which you can still submit your ballots today. If you have not yet voted in this year's Raven Awards, go ahead and click on that link that I just posted. Hopefully, it posts to all of the various platforms. I believe that, unfortunately, Rumble, for some reason, the chat just does not want to work nearly as well. For some odd reason. I can't exactly tell you the reason as to why that is the case. It says here, cannot insert a command after another text. Commands must be first, whatever the heck that means. But anyway, that is now posted over on the green machine. So fill out your ballots if you have not yet done so, because it's a lot better than the nonsense that is going on with the Oscars. So we are especially going to talk about how the fact is a biological male has been nominated for Best Actress at this year's Oscars. You can't make this crap up. Not to mention, now that has gotten so much media attention, now the movie itself, Emilia Perez, is getting tons of shares, tons of people interested in what the movie's about, listening to the songs and the score, and everyone's ultimate conclusion, regardless of political party, regardless of even geolocation, is that it's garbage. Which makes you ask the question of what the hell were they thinking when they first made this movie, and secondly, nominate it amongst so many other better films that didn't get nominated at the Oscars this year. And this is, once again, that reminder of why the Oscars are and have become such a massive joke. One of the many reasons why we started the Raven Awards 7 years ago. We're now on our 7th annual Raven Awards, back in the day when it was the Wednesday Raven Awards with a fuller title. One of the big reasons was because of the nonsense that was being pushed, mostly political nonsense that was being pushed over on the Oscars. Now things have just gone to a whole new level where you have to ask the question, is this real life or is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, you know all the rest of the lyrics. Before getting any further, please make sure you smash that like button, loud that fire button over on Odyssey, smash the rumble button as well. Also, share this stream out with anyone who you think might be interested in the topic. And let's go ahead and say hello to our peeps. So first we got Wendy Hunter. Wendy saying, hello, I have to miss the stream. Very, very sad, Wendy. I hope that you start feeling better, though. Fortunately, she says she's feeling sick. Hope everyone is doing swell. Well, thank you, Wendy, for being here. And I saw you also said you have voted in the Ravens this year. I appreciate it. We got Snortapoopas Cuber, who is a member here on the channel. Hello, humans and other quitters. What's going on with Snortapoopus? Always great to have you here. He says, hello. We got Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, the Banjo Sandwich himself. Watched the Bob Dylan flick and enjoyed it. Well, I'm glad to hear that. It is James Mangold, and most of the movies he's made have actually been pretty good, with one massive exception, of course. We all know which one that was. Haven't seen it myself. As you all know, when I'm in school year mode, it is just very hard to find any free time to do most things, and I've not had time to watch that one. And until it becomes available through an HD copy digitally somewhere, I don't know if I will have the time to actually go and see it. I have heard good things about it, though. There it is. Again, Wendy Hunter, thank you again for entering in for the Raven Awards. Keely Chow, tagging to say, hi, Odin, how are you? Thor, Freya, Baby Sif doing? Everyone's doing great. And what I have for dinner Friday night, the usual Keely Chow, as always. It's always the same. The family's the only thing that might change every now and then, but the dinner, it's almost always consistent. We got Carl Jacobs hanging out in the chat. What's going on, Carl? Mr. Banjo Sandwich saying, just started 2 new Blacklead shows, Watson and Paradise. See critic list for details, but spoiler, one was really bad and one turned out to be an Under the Dome show. I think I've seen other people react to Watson, and it hasn't been very positive, so I'm going to assume that is the show you are speaking of. Abomination over on Odyssey saying, Odin, I hope everyone enjoys Emilia Perez as much as everyone else is going to enjoy the crushed and defeated discussion you're all going to have on Friday Night Tights. I'm really, really hoping that Gary does not actually assign us that movie for homework. Seeing the very few clips that I have seen I don't want to watch any more. I don't want to see any more of it. I've seen more than enough, because here's the thing, right? It's not even just that we are saying, oh, we don't agree with it politically, or there's any, even just a moral objection to the nonsense that's going on. It is just, objectively speaking, a very, very bad set of songs. And if the whole purpose of the movie itself is to be a musical, if your songs are not good, there's no way your movie's good. And I honestly do wonder if the original writing of the story and of the songs was done as meant to be a parody. It's almost like, is this just a giant troll? Is this like that same level of when you had, I forget the names of the persons, but there were people that got into like the research industry so that they could submit papers for peer review, and they were completely fake and fabricated, and they actually got through, I think actually on this topic even, and they got through, and it was to prove, the whole peer review process in certain fields is a complete joke. It'd be amazing if that's what the case was for this one. I highly doubt that is the actual case, but man, it would make a heck of a lot more sense with some of the nonsense that's in the music for those songs. It's crazy. If you've never listened to them before, I wouldn't recommend it, but the clips are going all over social media, and it is bonkers. Kimberly G, Killian Shadowcat, what's going on, Kimberly G? Saying here, howdy Odin, mods in chat. I'll be listening as I get some work done. I entered my Ravens ballot. Very good to hear. Thank you again for being here. Abomination saying, but at least we can all agree Captain Falcon is going to have a bigger box office than Amelia Perez. That is absolutely a fact. Amelia Perez is not going to really have much of anything. In fact, it was, I believe, a Netflix movie, so it had maybe a few days in theaters so that it could, be able to be nominated for an Oscar. The other thing, too, that we have to also keep in mind is that Amelia Perez got nominated for 13 Oscars. 13, which is now the most nominations that any foreign language film has ever gotten. And the fact that it's even in the discussion as being one of the most nominated movies of all time, it has not reached that height. I think the highest in the record for all time, any movie is around 15 or 16. I think Titanic is one of those movies. The fact that it's even in that discussion, that it's even in the same realm as those films, is a crime against humanity and insane. And also, again, explains as to why the Oscars should not be taken seriously anymore, are completely worthless, and why instead we should just have fun at the Ravens instead. Thanatos saying, hello Odin from me. Hello Thanatos, welcome. From 7:38 p.m. Eastern Time, we got Forever Sci-Fi, hail to you. What's going on? Forever Sci-Fi saying, hail all. CM Chunk, waving, what's going on? Jeremy Zakowski, evening Odin, everyone on here. Jeremy Zakowski, thanks for being here, good sir. Ambrose Sharonbot saying, hello, just watched Nora because it's nominated. What the heck was that? I agree. What the heck was even that? It's pornography, Ambrose. That's what it is. And I remember when I was critical of the film in my review on Critic List, there was at least one guy, I actually ended up having to block him because he ended up being a complete tool. And I called it out as such, and he was like, man, why would you even watch a movie when you knew the story and what it was about? It's like, well, I knew that people liked the film and were speaking highly of it. And yes, it was mentioned the general plot points and that there would be some naughty bits in there. I honestly, though, was not expecting that level of just pornography. Like, there is no other word to describe what that movie is. And the fact that that film has gotten nominated is also ridiculous. The fact that movies like Anora, but even worse, right? Because even up against Amelia Perez, Anora is Shakespeare, okay? But even the fact that those two movies can get nominated at the Oscars, but films like Strange Darling, arguably one of the best movies of the year that most people did not see, that's kind of in their wheelhouse, right? They love to nominate movies and even give them Oscars, a la films like Moonlight, which nobody's ever seen. But hey, at least there was a good film that was very well done, very well directed, very well written in Strange Darling this year. Another great independent film, Dee, was also really, really good. You have a lot of messaging in there if you really want to go for the whole messaging. And it's not because of the fact that there's any political messaging in the film, but because they could say, oh, look, we nominated an Asian person, because that's all that they seem to care about these days. is checking off those boxes. But what we all know is to check off a box in Hollywood, to check off a box according to this DEI nonsense, it only flows a specific way. Unless you are part of a few handpicked groups of marginalized persons, you will not be included in any of that. It's insane. It's insane. The man with the orange hat saying, welcome to Asgard and get your crap. I'm not Walter. Welcome to Asgard. Behave, be merry. Indeed, he will get his mighty axe if you misbehave. J.S. Pena tagging, what's going on, good sir? Welcome back. Glad to have you here. J.S. Pena saying, saw Flight Risk this past weekend. It had its moments, but it definitely felt like it was written by AI. I have yet to see other films directed by Mel Gibson, as this was my first. Dude, oh man, how in the world is that your first Mel Gibson movie? You've not seen a film like The Patriot? I believe he directed that film. At the very least, The Passion of the Christ. I mean, Lord, man. Come on. Orange Hat saying the wokeness of the Oscars is basically their way of saying F Trump. No, I think, honestly, with how... I did not believe people when they said how bad Emilia Perez is, like the movie was or the songs and music were. But watching just those very small clips, it's honestly, I am just astounded. I really am. To me, it reminds me a bit of the year when at the Oscars, they had nominated a movie. And it was a film that had a very weird connection to 9/11, I think. And it just, it was extremely loud and incredibly close. That's what it was. I remember the year that got nominated, and I was like, at the time had hair and pulling my hair out, and I was freaking. I was like, how in the heck did this movie get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars? It just, I did not understand it because the movie was bad. It was not good. In fact, it was one of the lowest rated amongst critics even. It was kind of amazing to see. It even got like articles written about it as what are some of the worst reviewed movies to get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars? And it was one of them. It's kind of also crazy to think, man, remember when the worst movies to get nominated at the Oscars were those random films like Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close? And now we live in the era and the age of, there's basically a pornography that's been nominated for Best Picture in Anora. And now you also have Emilia Perez, which tries to push the narrative that a man is a woman, when we know biologically speaking, that is impossible. Even worse, and somehow also even better, just out of pure hilarity of how ridiculous our society and our culture and really Hollywood has become, the fact that they then nominated that man as a Best Actress nominee. Oh, if he wins, boy, oh boy, in the year that was really being prepped, or at least it seemed like it was being prepped for this to be Demi Moore's year, right? Oh, The Substance, that's her comeback movie. It's this big, great comeback story. The Oscars love painting those kinds of stories. If a man were to win just because Hollywood wants to give a middle finger to the president, and by doing so gives even more than just the acting award for that movie, and makes it one of the most, winningest of all foreign language films in history, oh boy, wouldn't that be something? Ambrose says the Academy didn't get the Prez's memo. Apparently not. Orange Hat, on another note, getting a bunch of ads during the stream. Apologize for that. Abomination says, sounds like Rumble's system is mistaking the / symbol as the start of a command. Either you have a space before or Rumble did a boo-boo. Yeah, that's just the thing, is that whenever I put that in, there is no /. There is no / or space, to my knowledge. So it's just that reminder to me that again, Rumble, I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad that there's an alternative that people can go to. It's vastly overrated, though. It really is, because they have put too much time and effort in trying to get big names over there, mostly in conservative media, instead of actually trying to make it a platform for the people. So yeah, it's free speech. That's great. Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to post your things there without worrying of censorship to a massive degree. That is true. But if you're trying to build a channel there, good luck. Unless you are a major channel that they've handpicked to give a lot of money to, or to give a lot of deals. Again, it's it's basically big tech by a different name. Picking winners and losers, right? Let's see. Laura, the Mother Major General story. What's going on? Laura saying here, I 100% agree a man will win Best Actress. Poor Demi Moore. Seriously. It really is sad because even though I have my issues with the substance too, it's such an insane movie. A beautiful message for sure, but an insane movie. At least there's more movie in that film than pornographic material than there is in a film like Anora, right? Which is, again, it's just insane how that movie was made and what that film has in it. But Demi Moore gives a phenomenal performance in that movie. And yeah, the fact that she is now going to be overshadowed by an actual biological man and that they are going to push that narrative forward and they're going to make it because, they like their stories. And so, as good of an actual authentic story as Demi Moore's comeback is, what's better? Oh, will they give a man a Best Actress nomination or will they give a man a Best Actress, Oscar this year? Is it now that they're going to try to make it so that they can get eyeballs on their screen? Because here's the thing. More people are likely going to say, nah, if that's the direction you're going, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to watch that nonsense. They would rather wait for it to come up on clips, on Twitter, on X, on wherever it is they're watching. So I think it's going to backfire on them quite a bit. VJ the Vigilant, what's going on? Day Tripper, hail to you. Justin C, hail, the Oscars haven't been worth watching since Billy Crystal last hosted. Maybe even longer. Rob D, hello, Odin, what website is it to vote for the Ravens so I know what movies I need to watch or at least try to watch? I say it all the time, so I posted the link earlier. So I posted the direct link to vote, but then also just go to my website, ombreviews.com, ombreviews.com. And then you'll see there's various tabs you can go to on the site. Click on the one that says Raven Awards. Make sure it's clicked on Raven Awards 2024. And you have all the information you need right there. All right, Jimmy A was a member. What's up, Jimmy A? I watched the clip from Amelia Perez where Zoe Saldana talks to the doctor about a certain type of surgery. Conservative liberal, that clip was pure cringe. Agreed. And that's why it's funny because the film's being criticized from Mexico. It's being criticized from the trans community. It's being criticized from basically every angle, except for apparently nonsensical, insane Hollywood. Abomination saying, I think Crowder showcased the peer-reviewed thing a few years ago. Yeah, he did. J.S. Pena, did the voting for the Ravens just start? I'm just asking because I saw you didn't put the link in the community tab. It has been. Where you been, J.S. Pena? We had our nomination stream last week. You weren't here for the nominations announcement? It's on the website, ombreviews.com. I mean, I also swore, I could have sworn I had put it on the community tab on YouTube. If not, though, I can. But yeah, just go to the website, ombreviews.com. Jimmy A, Anora literally sounds like a granny name. Oof. Oof. All right, let's see. Rob D, thanks for tagging, saying, that's insane. 13 nominations for Amelia Perez. Titanic had 14 and 11 wins, tied with Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, and I think that's still the record. It really is crazy. Geek Truth 64, what's going on, Geek Truth? Always glad to have you here, good sir. Saying, I heard a lot of positive things around Strange Darling and Dee Dee. I figured those would be a given for the Oscars. Me too. At least Strange Darling, because Strange Darling had that female leading performance in it that really could have taken off. And I think that this really is, once again, that proof that the Oscars do not actually award the best movies of the year. They nominate and award the films with the best campaigns. It is pure, and this is how it's been for a long time, maybe even forever. It's always been about your campaigning. It's always been about who you can reach out to. But there are times when sometimes that actually does match up, right, with the best movie of the year, or at least one of the best movies of the year, where people could say, yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but I can agree with the overall choice that was made that year. But this is the era that we live in, is now it's even more politicized. It's now made even more insane in various ways. And so now films like Strange Darling or Dee Dee, which I would love to have seen in there, and maybe a few years ago, those films, and those are the kinds of films that could have gotten in those 10 nominations. Instead, they're left out in the cold because they didn't have, I guess, enough money to actually campaign and to essentially lobby for their movie. And so you get films like Amelia Perez in there, and not just in there, but taking 13 nominations, including multiple ones. To me, honestly, as crazy as it is that they nominated a man for Best Actress, it's even crazier that a single one of those songs got nominated for Best Song at the Oscars. And apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, apparently there are no plans to have any live performances this year. Seems a bit convenient, especially at a year when you have a film like Wicked out. I don't know. Maybe there's other reasons as to why that is the case. But man, oh man, could you imagine if they decided to somehow have any type of musical showing of that movie? They're going to show clips from it. That's kind of been the tradition from all the clips that I've ever seen from the most recent Oscars. They always try to show you clips throughout the night of the best pictures of the year. Are they going to show you a bunch of the songs from that movie? Because Lord Almighty, man, oh man. Thank you, J.S. Pena. That was the one I was not sure of. The Patriot was directed by Roland Emmerich. I know that, of course, he had starred in it, but as far as directing goes, I mean, definitely watch Passion of the Christ. Apocalypto, also a phenomenal movie from him. Was it Braveheart? At the very least, was one that wasn't that his directorial debut? So, I mean, man, how is it that you could not see other things? Abomination saying, looks like Mel directed A Man Without a Face, Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, Hacksaw Ridge, Flight Risk, and going to be the Passion of the Christ 2. Yeah, dude. Again, Flight Risk, I've heard it's actually pretty fun. It's nothing to write home about, but it's at least fun. But for that to be your first Mel Gibson film over films like Braveheart or Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto is not for everyone, I will say that much. Even Hacksaw Ridge got a lot of people's attention. But come on, man. Come on, man. Let's see. Thanos Felicitas saying, I thought the music clips from Amelia Perez was parody. Really bad parody. Me too. And you know what? It isn't. Kojo Asante. Chris Evans is the most woke actor in the MCU. Do you think if he was still Captain America in Part 4, it'd make $1 billion? Kojo, I've never seen you before. You sound a lot like another person that was no longer welcomed here on the channel because of nonsense like this. So, again, nothing wrong yet. But no, he does not make $1 billion. That's not how this works. Actors do not drive people to the theaters in the same way that they used to. It might be sometimes actors in certain movies. So, for instance, Tom Cruise in certain films can definitely drive a certain number of people to the theater, but even he's not a guarantee. I mean, just look at the fact he had Top Gun Maverick make $1 billion because he was in it, but it was also well marketed and a phenomenal movie. But then he's also in Dead Reckoning Part 1, now just Dead Reckoning, from a couple years ago, and that film did not make $1 billion and, in fact, lost money. And really did not make as much as a lot of people thought that it might have. And that film was even a pretty good film. Wasn't the best, but it was definitely a solid movie. It was an entertaining film. So actors do not make anything. And so, no, if he was in it, that would not make pretty much any difference whatsoever. Jimmy A., I watched Tom Cruise's post 9/11 Oscar speech recently. I really missed that level of sincerity and a heartfelt tone from Hollywood without being virtue signaling. I also would agree. Unknowns said, I can't stop laughing at that cringe song, though. I agree. Kojo, Chris Evans played the young Biden in his biography. What? Cthulhu, I like Amelia Perez with silly musicals like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog that got adulated for political points. Oh, I liken Amelia Perez with silly musicals. Here's the other thing. Yeah, so Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, though, actually features some fun music and clearly a parody style, right? Whereas Amelia Perez does not have that. The difference is that Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog actually has songs that are not bad. They actually are ones you don't mind listening to, and they actually are sung by people that have talent. Whereas Amelia Perez, everything that I've heard, the people cannot sing for anything. Like that's why people think it's actual parody, because you're listening, you're like, wait, these aren't singers. These are just random actors who are like almost speak singing, and then the ones that actually do sing sound awful. That's bad. Carl Jacobs, you should want Carla Sofia Gascon to win. It'll maximize the damage. Same for Best Picture. Here's the other thing, though, Carl Jacobs. It's the damage has already been done as far as mainstream audience is concerned. What I want for Hollywood to damage itself, meaning I want it to finally wake up enough people within its own cult to finally wake up and to break off and to break away. But that's just not going to happen. So that's why, as much as it would be hilarious, right, as a way to say, look at what the Oscars are doing, to be honest, I don't know if it would hurt them as much as some of us might think it. So those are my thoughts. But let's just talk about this story in full. We'll go over to geeksandgamers.com. I write for geeksandgamers.com once a week for my box office breakdown. You can see, oh, look at this. There it is right there. Here's my box office breakdown for this past weekend. And I love that he used the image of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch with his bald head in there. But I talk a lot about, the box office for this week, including Flight Risk having a weak January opening box office, but possibly strong enough to push it all the way. We'll have to wait and see. But the big news story is from Alex Garzo over on geeksandgamers.com. Shout out to Alex, who is awesome. And his title right here, Oscars nominate transgender person as Best Actress, or more accurately, they nominate a man to be Best Actress. The article, the Oscar nominations were announced yesterday, and for the most part, nobody seems to care. That's par for the course these days, with the exception of the last year when they nominated Oppenheimer, a legitimately outstanding movie that people loved. I would disagree with that personally. I thought it was okay, but was really weighed down by the completely unnecessary and, dare I say, even deviant nudity scenes, which were just ridiculous. And even that wasn't much of a bump. As someone who used to love watching the Oscars every year, I feel the same way, Alex. I can tell you exactly why they've fallen from grace. They stopped being a yearly celebration of cinema and became an excuse for a bunch of vapid, entitled narcissists to lecture the rest of the country about politics and social issues while preening like swans. I love your language right here. It became off-putting, like they were actively trying to make sure nobody but them had a good time. My new ritual on Oscar night is to watch a classic movie I've never seen. I highly recommend it. That is a great tradition, Alex, but I would give you one better. Watch the Raven Awards instead and join our boycott. However, this year, there's one nomination that's turning some heads. Carla Sofia Gascon, a transgendered, quote, woman, I think, male to female. You think? Alex, bro, I love you, man. But no, clearly, this is a biological man, right, who is wearing a wig and, for the lack of a better term, right, is pretending to be a woman. That is what is going on here, okay? Who is now nominated for Best Actress for the film Emilia Perez, which I've known existed since exactly today. Gascon plays Juan Manites del Monte, a drug lord who wants to become a woman and enlists a lawyer played by Zoe Saldana to do it. Emilia Perez is described as a musical crime comedy, which I guess makes it the modern era's Victor Victoria. It's also nominated for a whopping 13 nominations, the most for a non-English movie, and more than any movie except for All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land, which all had 14. Yes, you heard that right. This is now the fourth most nominated movie in the history of the Oscars, only having one less nomination than classics like All About Eve, modern classics like Titanic. I think that one was overrated personally. And then movies that really did not deserve it, like La La Land. Kind of, again, speaks to the modern era of Hollywood. As you probably assume, every publication is mentioning how historic Gascon's nomination is, and I guess we're all supposed to agree and hope he wins. And I'll tell you something, I absolutely do. Why? And then he gives a clip there. I include that segment because watching it this morning was one of the moments where someone else perfectly articulates everything you're thinking. I agree with Megyn Kelly completely. It will be immensely satisfying to watch these smug liberal women have to sit there and smile while a man is designated a better actress than them. And despite their fodderall about picking and choosing your gender and social constructs and whatever nonsense, they don't really believe it. If they're thinking the same thing all those women who spoke up and were told to grin and bear it were thinking. It's the perfect bow on top of their trans whatever virtue signaling campaign. The rest of the country rejected this, as Megyn says, but they can't because they've dug their heels in too deep, and they're part of a community that demands total ideological conformity. Now, who's got to grin and bear it? And actually, glad that you mentioned that about grinning and bearing it, because the other reason why this is a huge slap in the face of women in general, but also especially of these Hollywood women, is the person, the actual real woman, Demi Moore, who was likely to win this Oscar, was in a movie that's all about how women in Hollywood are objectified and are treated really well when they're young and pretty, and when they get older, they're kind of tossed aside a bit. And the commentary on aging in Hollywood and aging in general for women, that's kind of what The Substance ultimately deals with. So it would be even more poetic, really poetic evil, to give this to a man who, again, shows you that, yes, even men are better actresses than the actual women in the category, including the one to whom she's given this credit and she's given this nomination because of her phenomenal performance in a movie that deals specifically with women being mistreated by men in certain regards and in certain ways. Very much poetic justice would that be. And yes, they would have to look at it with their smug faces and would have to actually grin and bear it. Much like in the movie The Substance, where the character played by Demi Moore grins and bears it. Now, the other thing, too, the other factor, this might be the one thing that might make some people watch the Oscars instead of the Raven Awards, and that is people wanting to see what is that camera reaction going to look like. Are you going to see every other actress, every other real, the actual real women who are nominated in this category, when they hear this man's name being read aloud, are they going to grin and bear it? Could we potentially see one of them, not clap, do a thumbs down, walk away, do nothing? I don't think they will, because we all know Hollywood is currently run by the crazies. But you might see something. We've seen crazier things before. Y'all remember the year in Hollywood that we had the likes of Chris Rock being slapped by Will Smith? If things like that can happen at these types of events, well, guess what? Anything can happen. All right, let's get back to y'all's comments. 8 o'clock, Rob D said, I'll only watch the Oscars if they get Ariana Grande to deliver the donuts. Dang. Dang. Kojo, I Want to Be Ninja Song by Jennifer Murphy should be the theme song for Shang-Chi 2. I have no idea what you're going off on, Kojo. You're just kind of ranting at this point. Calm down. J.S. Pena, damn, I definitely have to watch The Substance now. Again, I would not recommend it because it does have some pornographic images in it. I think it goes too far. However, I do think the acting is really good, and I do think the overall story is actually a pretty compelling one. Also, the body horror aspects, I give kudos to the makeup team. They did a really great job. Hardwick. The movie version of Amelia Perez is written and directed by Jacques Audiard, who also made the opera libretto upon which it is based, which in turn was based on Boris Razon's book, Écoute. Why? Hardwick, why would I care about any of that? Why are you giving me that biographical information that I just did not want to read? And I'm going to forget about in 5 seconds? Come on, man. Abomination. Odin, what's worse? Demi Moore speaks out about it. She'll be pushed aside like Scarlett Johansson after Black Widow. For me, I mean, at this point, if you did this role as a way of trying to make a comeback and it was stifled because they're going to give the award to a man, well, guess what? Your whole momentum has already been stalled. Your comeback victory was already taken from you. So I would argue she has nothing to lose by actually standing up and standing out against it. That's how I would look at it, because they've already shown you, guess what? They're not going to respect you. Let's see. Hardwick, we've already established that. J.S. Pena, I saw the nominations. I just didn't see the link. I posted it in the chat several times, and I just posted it tonight. Thank you also, Laura, for putting the link out there. Abomination saying, Madam Web got robbed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. We got some really, really good ones in there, for sure. Let's see. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, vote Ravens. Yes, indeed. Vote Ravens. Kojo Asante, he's still here, saying, is the Critical Drinker's new movie any good? Rogue Elements. It got nominated. So I have actually not seen it yet. It's on my list of movies to watch. But the people, they indeed nominated it, so it must be pretty good. Raz Van, what is going on? Welcome. Welcome to the show. Jess Pena, technically I saw bits and pieces of Apocalypto when I was younger, but I never watched the full movie. It's a pretty tough watch. Hardwick, another 2024 movie that got snubbed was The Last Showgirl, which was Pamela Anderson's comeback movie and directed by one of the Coppolas. It got nominated for awards everywhere but the Oscars. I mean, I have not seen the film, so I cannot speak to whether the film is good or not. What I will say is, okay, by everywhere, do you mean just the Golden Globes? Because, I'm sorry, the Golden Globes are a joke, and they've been a joke for decades now. Did it get nominated at things like maybe Critics' Choice, Screen Actors Guild? And really, that to me would be the bigger question, because if she got nominated at the Screen Actors Guild, they're a huge part of and have a lot of influence on who gets nominated at the Oscars typically. They're almost always, not always, but almost always hand in glove as far as nominations are concerned. Winners to a certain extent as well. Though it's been a long time since I have followed the results to any real crazy degree. Rob D's saying, I'm probably wrong, but I don't think I could handle Apocalypto. Isn't that the movie about the tribe of cannibals? Yeah, it has more to do with the human sacrifice element, to be honest, that can be a bit disturbing for sure. Abomination, if Chris Evans was in it, it would definitely be able to make more than $200 million worldwide. Cthulhu, thank you. I had no intention of watching that junk, so good to know its failures from someone that knows the genre, of course. Also, Heimdall is posting the link now as well, so that way people can know about it. Geek True saying, I think the Oscars are pointless now. Only of value to Hollywood. It's like winning an award at the office outside of the office. No one really cares. It's a really great point, Geek Truth. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where the Oscars are no more relevant than the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes used to always be, and really still are, that joke of an awards show, right? Where it's like, hey, yeah, we play for the points, and the points really just don't matter. When you have the Hollywood Foreign Press nominating things, it means that they're going to nominate the movies that have the most stars so they can rub elbows with them and meet them. And it actually holds no bearing whatsoever. The Oscars have now gone in some ways maybe even worse. Strong women Oscars indeed. Orange Hat. If all the actresses allow this, it simply means that Hollywood actresses that did so are the biggest hypocrites. They care nothing about women. This will prove it. Yes, indeed. If none of them step up or say anything about it, none of them actually stand for women. That absolutely is true. Absolutely is true. Abomination, what are the odds that the person presenting the award for Best Actress is a woman? Wouldn't that be interesting? Really Old Movies. What's up, Really Old Movies? Welcome back. Jimmy A, I keep hitting my keyboard too fast and leaving half-typed comments. Just a mistake or two. Simply ignore it. Just letting everyone know. Jimmy A, it's all good, brother. Jimmy A, not getting political, but given what I know about Demi Moore, she wouldn't be mad about losing to the Amelia Perez person. Moore is at least not a fan of the Orange Man from what I can tell. But I mean, keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are not a fan of the Orange Man. There's people that I love in life that are not a fan of the Orange Man. There's a lot of criticisms that even I myself have of the Orange Man. But that does not necessarily mean that that person is fully insane and believes and accepts things that go against the very logic of simple biological fact. I'm not saying that specifically about Demi Moore, but what I am saying is that just because someone might have TDS, just because someone might have even legitimate criticisms of somebody, does not necessarily mean that they are all the way off the edge, okay? It does raise the question, though. Sean Lurch is a great point. Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman was nominated for Best Actor, not Actress. This is a great point. Does this mean that we now need to go back in time and actually award Dustin Hoffman Best Actress? The argument, I suppose, would be, well, he didn't identify as such, but then that just brings up the whole reason why the entire concept is ridiculous and is completely nonsensical in every way. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that these people do not understand the truth. They do not accept the reality because they can't. They cannot understand that there is such a thing as truth and that truth can indeed be discovered if one is only willing to actually think. These are also the same people that say 2 + 2 = 4 is somehow a racist thing to say. It is somehow offensive in some way. They would even go so far as to deny basic logic and reasoning And that's exactly what they do every single time they try to say, and you'll hear it every time. Anytime you see an article or a person refer to this guy who got nominated for Best Actress, every time you see them nominate or talk about them as a she or as a her or anything to that effect, they are telling you exactly the fact that they do not accept reality, that they do not understand what truth is. And it's very hard to take someone seriously, let alone to trust them in any way, if they can't even accept that basic fact. Basic fact. J.S. Pena saying, I think YouTube really hates you. I just saw 4 ads. Dang, dude. That's crazy. I'm surprised there are still ads running on this one. Hardwick saying here, I haven't seen Last Showgirl either, but it was nominated at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, the British, the BAFTA Awards, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and others. That was my big question, though, was about the SAG Awards, because it's very rare for SAG to nominate someone that the Oscars will not. It's not impossible. It is a different voting block, but a huge portion, there is a large block, I should say, of voters from SAG that are also voting at the Oscars. My guess would be that whatever the difference was between SAG and the Oscars, it was a matter of SAG trying to get the nominations in for actors and actresses, in that case, actresses that they deemed to deserve, right, their maybe Lifetime Achievement Award type thing. And then they decided to wait to be political to be fully more so political at the Oscars. For all I know. Kojo, should we boycott Fantastic Four because of Pedro Pascal? No. Again, very, very random. Rob D, I'd love to see a massive brawl at the Oscars if a man wins Best Actress. Wouldn't that be amazing if that was actually the case? Wouldn't that be amazing? What's the best movie with a priest as the lead character? Kojo Asanti asks. Well, he's not the main character. He's a side character. But I always have to go with, oh my goodness gracious, older film. I always blank out. I hate being asked questions where I have to actually think back in my brain. Crap. It's a Marlon Brando film. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. I hate the old brain not working the way it used to. Man, oh, man. Of course it's not showing up in Google. On the Waterfront. Oh my gosh. Why is that the poster they're showing? That's not the traditional poster for it. On the Waterfront. So anyway, there is a priest that is a major character in that one. I would argue that's probably one of the best, if not the best. The Mission is another film with Robert De Niro in it. That film also, I guess you could argue, features several characters that are playing priests. I think that that's also a phenomenal movie. And then there's a bunch of other classic films with The Bells of St. Mary's, I think, is one. And that's another one that would actually be pretty good. Oh, man, you're right, Laura. I totally forgot. You were completely correct there. The answer is definitely Silence. That's another great one. Oh, Laura, you're so correct. Silence is absolutely a phenomenal one for sure. Yes. With Andrew Garfield in the film. He does a great job in it. Scorsese film. Great, great, great. CM Junk, I heard that Saldana's character in Amelia Perez vows to throw violent Mexican criminals in jail makes Selena Gomez's meltdown today a bit ironic. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Laura, The Last Showgirl looks interesting. I'll probably wait for streaming, but is it playing in theaters? Yeah, I probably, it's not on the top of my list of things to watch, but it definitely seems like it has something similar to that. Sister Act. That's not a priest, though. Rob D, I think YouTube has caught on to people's live streaming more for more engagement and money and are putting ads in. Another streamer I watch, I get ads every 5 minutes or so. Well, I mean, we have some control. The issue is that I had on, for a long time, the switch to have more limited ads. But then because you have that switch on, it impacts other aspects of your stream. And so I had to turn it back on because I was wondering, is by me having this off, are they now also suppressing the content? Because I noticed that the numbers were different the moment I had turned that on. So I do apologize if you're getting that much more. I have it on the most conservative position possible, but it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Sister Act is a great film. All right, don't get me wrong. Even if Whoopi Goldberg's in it, guess what? It's still a great movie because, most people can separate the art from the artist. That's just a thing that we can do. Oh, man. But yeah, it's a crazy world that we live in. It really is, honestly, crazy. And the fact that this is making waves everywhere, right? About Amelia Perez. And that's the other thing, as I mentioned, is that it's already crazy enough that a man has been nominated for Best Actor, but then you add on top of that every song that's been released that people have been watching has not been good. So even the songs themselves have gotten nominations. And it's some of the worst writing for any songs that anyone has ever heard. It's crazy. Just when you thought nominating a man for Best Actress was crazy, they go on and they actually have some of the worst music that's ever been written. It puts the whole Seagull song from The Little Mermaid to shame with how bad it is. Now, that's still pretty bad, but I think I would rather listen to that on repeat than any of the songs from Amelia Perez, based on the things that I've had to listen to, at least. I mean, it's some really, really bad stuff. Anyway, I'll let the chat build up a little bit. We'll talk also now a little box office as well, as we do have that in our title today. So Flight Risk made $11.5 million. I think that's actually a little bit less than what the original estimate was for the weekend. Yeah, it was originally estimated at $12 million, so did not make nearly as much as some people thought. Only cost about $10 million last I checked, so the film only $8 million in the red. Has the potential then to actually make its money back, but will it be able to hold this weekend? Big question we don't know the answer to quite yet. Once we get some Monday numbers, Tuesday numbers, we see how much of a Sunday, Monday drop-off it had, we'll have a good idea about how it is tracking. But as of right now, I would say be thankful it has a small budget. And I think that maybe that love for Mel Gibson probably drove a few more people out to go see it. So that could have definitely had a major impact for sure. We also have the film Presence making $3.3 million, which is actually, I think, a little bit more than what was anticipated. This film only cost about $2 to $3 million, though, which is insane. And because this is all from the domestic market, it's only about $1.1 million in the red. So even though this is not going to be a huge moneymaker by any means, and may not even break $10 million domestic, has a chance, but may not even break $10 million domestic, that would be more than enough to not only make profit, but also even potentially pay for itself and then some, meaning to actually pay it forward for another film with a similarly sized budget. This is, from all I know, a Steven Soderbergh film where the main premise is it is a ghost story told from the perspective of the ghost. So all of the shots that you see of the family and of the haunting is from the perspective of the actual ghost, of the actual spirit. That's a very fascinating topic, honestly. And so I'm actually interested in it because of that dynamic, because typically I stay away from that kind of stuff. Brave the Dark from the Angel Studios, the distribution arm of Angel Studios. This film, I think, technically was completed in 2023. Got picked up for distribution by Angel Studios. Is now in theaters. Only made about $2.2 million for this movie as well. It's hard to find a lot of information on budgets, so I'm guessing a $5 million budget. I think it's a pretty fair assessment to make. That would mean right now the film probably around $6 million in the red. These films have just not been making a lot of money. Angel Studios has a desperate need for not only another Sound of Freedom, but also a method of being able to try to make films that actually appeal to more people. I mean, even when you have the other films that have been released, whether it be films like Bonhoeffer or films like Homestead, which have a lot of potential behind them, they really have disappointed. I mean, the Christian panel that I do every couple of weeks on Carrie Smith's channel, shout out to Carrie Smith, the panel that we do, me, Brahma, Michelle from Force Light Entertainment, and Carrie, sometimes we have a special guest as well. But I remember for both of the films that we've covered more recently, right, for December and their release of Homestead, and then the previous release of Bonhoeffer, we were very mixed. We were actually incredibly negative of Bonhoeffer because there was a lot of reasons to critique it. especially historically, had a lot of historical inaccuracies and a lot of things they added in that just did not make any sense. It very much was reminiscent of Sound of Freedom when they added in that whole extra rescue at the end, and then you find out that that extra rescue at the end was actually just completely made up, and you're like, well, why would you do that? It takes away from the authenticity of the story, and your film was already more than long enough to get your point across and to have and to end on a very strong note. But Brave the Dark, another one from Angel Studios, just not making money. One of Them Days did so much better than anyone could have anticipated. This film, $7 million in the red, has a good chance of breaking even and making a little bit of profit. The Wolfman, not so much right now, still in the negative territory. The numbers have not updated on boxofficemojo.com, and so the numbers aren't as bad as this. But even so, it was projected to have only made around $27 million. So it's about a $10 million difference there. But still, not in a good position based off of even those numbers, still between a $4 to $13 million loss. That's using an old 2.5 multiplier, of course. Nosferatu, profitable now at $5.5 million. Sonic the Hedgehog at only $29 million. Again, not as impressive as I think some people were expecting it to be. Moana 2, very impressive, well over $1 billion, $225 million in net profits. Wicked, still profitable as well. And those are those updates on the newer releases and some of the older ones. And I would love to see if y'all have any thoughts. And I would be remiss if I did not say that when it comes to these numbers, okay, especially when I'm out there, months ago saying, hey, don't sleep on Moana 2, likely going to be a $1 billion film. When everyone was saying, oh, the movie's a failure, it's losing money, etc. And I'm like, what nonsense are you speaking about? The movie's doing just fine. And guess what? It did cross $1 billion. It is making massive amounts of profits. People also did something similar with Wicked. I said, no, that film's going to make a pretty good amount of money. It's not going to make $1 billion, but hey, maybe around $750 million seems to be tracking in that direction. Just remember this when it comes to numbers, okay? You just have to come over here and watch.
Time to see a real mathematician at work.
Just got to come over and see the real mathematician, and we'll break down the math for everybody out there. All right, Divine Rapture 95, never heard of it. Then it does Felicitas saying, I am at 3 ads so far. Dang, they're going crazy. Keely Chow always leaving at around 8:30 for some reason. I don't know where he goes off to. That would be hilarious if you did get an ad for that movie. Let's see, Laura saying, did you see the movie where Shia LaBeouf or whatever plays a priest? No, I've not, because it apparently has some sacrilegious stuff in it. And so I try to stay away from that stuff when I can. It also doesn't look like it's the most accurate portrayal of Padre Pio. The film's just called Pio, I think. And it's all about St. Padre Pio. The one clip, though, I do love, and I do think is great, well acted, well written, is the one where he's just going off on that girl. He's like, say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. I love it. Master of Gaming, I think Demi Moore will win Best Actress. Then you are a very optimistic person, Master of Gaming. You're a very optimistic person. I honestly think at this point, for Demi Moore to win would take a miracle, I think. It would take a strong contingency of maybe very, very quiet, quote, feminist, maybe more traditional feminist, coming together to say, look, okay, it's one thing for us to speak it. It's one thing for us to try to pay lip service to this stuff. But at the end of the day, this dude is still a dude, okay? We can't let this dude actually win. We can't let this dude take away an Oscar from our girl Demi. That could happen. That could definitely happen. At the same time, it could also be, we have to vote for this person now. We have to vote for this man now, because if we don't, now we're the ones that are transphobic. Keep in mind, they are the ones that created the narrative, right? They're the ones that have created and painted the narrative. A lot of these people in Hollywood, they are the full cult members. They themselves believe everything about this nonsense. They themselves put their own kids through this. Need I only remind you of people like Charlize Theron, amongst many others, who literally are abusing their kids through psychological and emotional means because of the nonsense that's being pushed by these people. These are the same people who are going to be voting and are going to be pushing and are going to be trying to politicize and to pontificate this, okay? So I think, again, it's very, very positive thinking on your part to think that's going to happen. And there's definitely a chance it could happen. It's not impossible. But because they have now nominated this guy, I think they're stuck. Because now if he does not win, the story is going to be, no matter what they say, no matter what happens, that they're transphobic. The only way they might get out of it is if Demi Moore wins and then goes up there and then she gives this massive, massive praise and speech about trans rights, etc. Maybe then they could save some face. But if not, very hard. Jimmy A. I've heard flight risks cost $25 million. In that case, there is no chance of breaking even. Again, that's the problem with these movies, is that the budgets are not ever very clear. And I would not say never a chance. It would be very difficult, to say the least, though, for sure, Jimmy A. Dan Crane, thank you for being a member for 32 months in a row, at the Citizen of Asgard level. Sacre bleu, what's going on? Deadly Poke of Zorro. Hello, Odin. This new twist on the Best Actress Oscar category sounds like it was designed by one Mr. Harvey Weinstein as a post-Me Too revenge. Wouldn't that be something? Jimmy A. Could a working man have a similar effect to Sound of Freedom? It will combine the Jason Statham action fans and people who are serious about heavy themes together. Could really take off. You never know. Never say never. Sometimes it's hard, right? One of the things that we often forget is the whole Barbenheimer thing was organic. I think most people thought Barbie would be big. I don't think anyone thought that Oppenheimer was going to be as big as it ended up being. I think the Barbenheimer effect had a huge impact on that one. Let me just look up something about, let's see, Working Man movie 2025. So the positive aspect to Working Man is the fact that it is indeed not a January film. That's a good thing. It is directed by David Ayer. So I would take, personally, just me, would take it with a grain of salt. I don't think he is the best person necessarily. It does have a pretty decent cast, right? You have Statham, you have David Harbour, Michael Pena is also listed as being in the project as well. I don't think I've seen the full trailer for this movie yet. But yeah, you never know. It says he left behind a decorated military career for black ops, live a simple life of working construction. However, when human traffickers kidnap his boss's daughter, his search to bring her home uncovers a world of corruption far greater. I mean, honestly, it sounds like another iteration of Taken. So if it comes out in the right time, I mean, March is International Women's Month, right? So who knows? Maybe it'll be enough. Geek True 64 says, are you going to MegaCon this year? Yes, that is the plan. Unless an emergency happens with family. I do have 2 young kids. When you have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, a 16-month-old, you could say. If something happens with them, it'll be very easy for me to cancel because I'm driving in, so I wouldn't have to worry about canceling flights. And I think we're trying to, some of us in Geeks and Gamers crew are trying to split some Airbnbs, and so we'll see what happens with that. If not, I mean, last time I was able to go, it was very last minute that I figured out I could go, and so I ended up getting a pretty good, cheap, reasonably priced hotel that was a little further away. But I don't mind driving. So yes, I will be at MegaCon. But I will say this much: if I can go, and right now, again, I am planning on going. That is my full intention is to do that. I'm driving in for probably around, I think last time I was able to go was 2 years ago, and I got in around maybe 8:30 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. at night, because I leave right after work. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to leave that much earlier than that, and it's about a 7 or 8 hour drive. So yeah, I made some pretty good time that year. So I'll be there all day Saturday, fully available all day Saturday, and then partially Sunday morning, but my main goal Sunday morning is to get to Mass and then hit the road right after that. So very, very quick trip, but I will be there all day Saturday. We'll definitely be at the meetup on Saturday and the con likely on Saturday as well. Let's see. KK Rumsky over on the Green Machine saying, "Fear not, I am here." Jez Penny, I do apologize. Dan Crane, "Hail Odin, God bless you and your family. God bless you as well." Kojo, "Is David Cornsweat the first non-white Superman?" in live action, or was that Dean Cain since he's Japanese? I don't know. I actually didn't even know that David Cornsweet was not technically non-white. I don't care. He's Jewish, right? I don't know, and I don't care. KK Rumsky, sweet. I just got here in time for the math. Laura is saying animated Disney sequels are notoriously a huge step down in quality. Yes, that's a very good point. Dan Crane, what have you heard about Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ 2? He's been working on it for over a decade now. And from what I've heard, he's in the pre-production process. So they don't have a script finalized yet. It's still probably a couple years out, unfortunately, from being made. But everything that I've been hearing about it sounds amazing. It's going to tell the story of the resurrection of Christ, but it is also going to extend out to deal with spiritual warfare. And everything I've heard seems to indicate that there's going to be a potential showing of the fall of the angels. So going back to like the creation account and connecting Genesis with Revelation with the fall of a third of the angels, and therefore dealing with the demons and Satan, of course. And then trying to have that tie in with the harrowing of hell, right? The freeing of the just souls of the Old Testament, which occurs right after Christ dies. In the creed, that's what we say. He descended into hell. And by that, what we mean is he descended into Abraham's bosom, as it's traditionally known, which just means it's the place of the just souls of the Old Testament are to be, freed, to be guided to heaven. So that could be a really cool thing. The harrowing of hell is a very awesome way of describing that. So there just sounds like there's a lot of really cool spiritual things that could be done. In addition to that, trying to connect it to the spiritual warfare that we battle on a daily basis. And in a recent interview he made, I forget which outlet it was with, because he's interviewed a lot recently for Flight Risk. It sounds like he's going to try to tackle that question of what makes us so special? Why are we so unique? Why are we so desired by God? And that could be a very interesting film. Let's see. Thanato saying, have you seen The Shoes of the Fisherman, 1968 Anthony Quinn movie about the conclave nomination of the Pope? I've not, but I've heard amazing things about it. And I think it was Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, who has mentioned that one before. Sacre bleu. Also, never forget that most of these actors were okay with keeping their mouths shut, as they and others in Hollywood were victimized for decades by men like Weinstein. Another great point. Kojo, I don't know what your deal is, man. You're just going off on random questions, and that's not really what this show is about. We have topics that we're trying to keep to, and you're just kind of going off doing your own thing. So I'm going to have to start skipping your questions, dude, because they're just not relevant. This is not a theology stream. I usually have open forum conversations from time to time. This is not one of them. Then as was saying, Linda Hunt won Best Actress Oscar for playing Chinese Australian man in the year of Living Dangerously in 1984. Dang, what? I had no idea. But it's March International Boss's Daughters Month. Whoa. Dang. Jimmy A says, David Cornsweet is Jewish, but Jewish people are considered a white minority similar to Italians. Yeah, and that's the issue too, is that that's under the assumption that white itself is, and this is where it was interesting. I was having a conversation with Grok, as one does, right? AI is very interesting. And I was trying to get it to explain to me, what does it mean to be white? Is it just referring to the color of your skin? That seems to be the case, right? But it went off on what I assume is a big part of like race theory and all the critical theory stuff, because it was trying to go off on trying to say that people can be white even if their skin color is not white. And I'm like, oh boy. And basically, it went into the whole, almost like whiteness is a state of mind kind of thing. And so that to me was a huge indicator that there is indeed this movement, this mindset that tries to argue. So when people say, oh, is this the first non-white? I'm like, I'm sorry, but what about him makes him non-white? Just because he's Jewish, it makes him the first Jewish man to play Superman. I'm imagining. I honestly don't know. I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't care. All I care about is, does the person look like Superman from the comics, and can the person act the part of Superman from what we have an understanding of Superman to be? So, we might, Orange Chat. We might. Kevin Wang, what's up, Kevin? Hi, Odin. I'm still mad that Denis lost Best Director 2 times in a row. Dune Part 2 didn't get Best Adapted Screenplay, but the first one did. I'm going to be honest, though, man. Dune Part 2 is overrated. I like a lot of parts of it. You all know I love Denis Villeneuve. The visual effects, top-notch. But I'm sorry, everything they did with that character of Chani, to me, it takes it a huge step down. It takes it a massive step down in most categories for me, okay? Massive categories for me. Kick in Rumsky. Mel Gibson, a little nutty or no? Your thoughts? Oh, he absolutely is a little nutty. I think he's like one of those guys, though, where he's nutty, but he's better now, right? He's our nut. He's our nutty guy. Oh, man. Yeah. So, yeah, he's crazy. He is crazy, but he means well. And also, most of the things that he says are completely correct. It's one of those things where he's got the crazy look. So he looks crazy. He's got the crazy eyes, but that's about it. Let's see. Abomination. I'm shocked that AI is racist. I know, it definitely seems that way. Jimmy A. At some point in this country, Irish were not considered white. This would mean most people in the United States ancestors would not be considered white. Yeah, again, that's what just drives me crazy about all of it, right? Is that it's like, okay, if we're going to describe people based off of a color, okay, that has to be referring to the color and the tone of one's skin, I would imagine. If we want to move past that, then we have to start going into some very interesting backgrounds, right? Because then it's like, oh, do I just call myself an Irish, German, French person? Like, again, it's kind of ridiculous how all of this stuff plays out. That's why, how about instead I just be a human being? I am a human man. I am a human male. There are only men and women. God created them male and female, right? In the image of God, God created man. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. That is what we should identify ourselves as and be identified by, is who we are. Kevin Wang. Odin, I also thought Timothée Chalamet would get nominated twice, once for Dune Part 2 and A Complete Unknown. I didn't think he had any chance of getting nominated for Dune. Again, I don't think that movie's as good as some people think it was. Let's see. Forever Sci-Fi. It is okay. It's okay to be crazy as long as it's entertaining crazy and not dangerous crazy. That's a good point. And for ShaverBot, I'm not woke, but Mickey Rooney playing Chinese in breakfast activities. Oh, boy. Again, that's just the thing, though, is that a legitimate criticism, and I think that one is. I think we could look back at that movie and say, okay, I like Mickey Rooney, and I don't think he should be canceled or anything like that. Rest in peace. You know, and I wouldn't say that the movie should be censored in any way, okay, because it was a different time. But we could also say, ooh, not in the best taste. And that's not woke, right? So I think that we do have to have, you know, a clear a line of delineation, as it were. Hardwick, Jessica Alba got her DNA tested on a TV show. She was upset to find out that she's about 90% European. George Lopez joked that she's whiter than Larry David, who is only 3/4 European. Abomination. Oh, crap, I'm not white anymore. Wait, does that mean I'm not white until my ancestry went into the late 1800s when Irish were considered white? Jimmy A. I kind of wish people weren't so worried about race, honestly. Yeah, me too. Me too. Again, why can't we just be people? Why can't we just, you know, we always like to quote it, but it's true. I wish to live in a world where my children can be judged based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And that's why whenever people ask me to describe somebody or to point someone out, I'm usually very particular to say, you know, the personality qualities of that person and trying to do everything I can to avoid just, you know, describing them, quote, racially or by the color of their skin, because we are so much more than just that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Forever Sci-Fi. Sorry. The man with the orange hat, you are given my permission to give a timeout to our little friend who seems to be obsessed with a certain topic. Because Jimmy A did ask him to back off the topic, and he clearly did not respect that request. So, Jimmy A, don't worry. My man with the orange hat or the lovely Modern Major General can take care of that. But again, you'll have my permission to give a timeout. We don't have to do a full ban or anything like that, but timeout. Let it go, dude. This is not the time or the place to talk about it, and clearly no one cares about this except for you. So, cool off in the corner as we wrap up the show. Laura's saying, yeah, most people don't realize that most South Americans are mostly white from the Spanish. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yes, Jimmy A, enjoy it. Enjoy it. The man with the orange hat saying, this is your warning. Never, ever anger the man with the orange hat. And most especially, never anger me. Forever Sci-Fi says, I am a meat popsicle. Exactly. Or a meat bag, right? Or what? I forget. There's a Star Wars game. It might be Knights of the Old Republic where there's a robot or a droid that says meat bag. There used to be someone who would come into the chat all the time and would use meat bag as a reference point. Let's see. John Orchard says, met you at MegaCon last year. I look forward to seeing you again. Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I forgot that I was even at MegaCon last year. I honestly, I doubted myself. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to go back this year. And yeah, as long as nothing crazy happens at home, as long as nothing crazy is going on with the kids, I will be there. And I'll be there all day Saturday. I'll be there for the entire meetup. And then I'll get up early on Sunday to go to church, go to mass. There's I think Orlando is where there is actually, I don't think there's actually even a Latin mass in Orlando, but there is an English ordinariate parish. So it's a group of Anglicans that actually return to communion with Rome and into the Catholic Church, and they're able to maintain their liturgy. And it's a very beautiful, reverent liturgy in English for the most part that I quite enjoy. Rob D says, that is KOTOR. The droid is HK-47. That's it. That's the one. Short. I'm eating Taco Bell. Sorry I missed the troll. It's okay, Laura. It's okay. I'm glad that we had a man with the ox here. I knew that at least one of y'all could probably do that. Favorite Sci-Fi. That line is from Fifth Element when Corbin Dallas is asked if he's human. About the popsicle. Yes. Okay. Getting it. Thank you for the reference. Context is always key. John Orchard says, you gave me a rosary that I still have. You were great. Dude, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I may not actually have in large supply. I need to start working on them because I do have rosaries, but the ones that I have, most of these are for the seniors that are graduating this year because I make all seniors at my school rosaries. I have some of the knotted rosaries, but I need to probably sit down and just be like, okay, I need to start actually making these on a regular basis again, so that way I have more that I can actually give away because I still got tons of pins, tons of stickers, and I think some magnets left that I'll be able to give away at MegaCon this year. But I always love having the rosaries to give away. Cthulhu, is there an upcoming movie that's interesting you? I haven't heard anything for 2025 yet. Mickey 17 is probably the only one that came to mind right away. I'm sure there are others, but you put me on the spot. That's the one that came to mind first. And with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap things up there this evening because I am exhausted. My voice is getting tired, and I made some cookies yesterday, and they're pretty darn good. Made some delicious chocolate chip cookies, and I like the cookies. So apologies to everybody out there for the ads if they were too overbearing. I will try to do everything that I can to reduce it. But as I said, when you take the ad thing, the automatic ad thing off, I do think that YouTube impacts your videos because we actually had more people in this stream than we've had in recent days. And that's the one major difference that I can think of between last time and this time. So it's a sad state of reality because it hurts the people that are always here and are here always no matter what. It's like, I'm still, guapo. But it for some reason limits the reach. It's not a surprise to us. It's just what YouTube does. It's just a part of their platform and one of the many reasons why I think they're worthy of criticism. But anyway, with all of that stuff being said, yes, make sure that you submit your ballots for the Ravens. The ballots are indeed still available, and you can vote up until really end of February. We had a little ways away, so a long time for that process. Lots of movies to watch. I'm still planning on getting some movie nights going, some watch parties going. On the Discord server, I last year was able to set up some auto plays, so that way people could tune in at any time that they wanted to watch the various films that were nominated for our Best Picture nominations. So I might be able to do something similar to that again. And I would also really like to actually host a movie night, if I could, maybe on Locals, since they don't really ping you for, quote, copyright infringement when you are on screen and, leaving comments on it as well. And make sure you share the ballot as well with other people that are able to vote, or you think that they might enjoy voting. And it should be a pretty good time. I've already had about 45, 46 people vote so far, so a pretty good start. And it is only going to get better from here. Especially with all the madness of the Oscars, because as we've talked about this evening, they have gone cuckoo. They've gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Incredibly insane. It's good to have an alternative, and I think the Ravens offer a great and fun way of being able just to forget all that nonsense and instead to enjoy the worst films of the year, and most importantly, to nominate and speak to the best movies of the year. But I do think some of the best films of the year were not really seen by a lot of people, so I really hope to be able to change people's minds and hearts, especially on films like Strange Darling and Dee Dee. I think that they really are so very good. But that's going to be it for me this evening, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And yeah, I'm going to go get some dessert. You guys are awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your night, a wonderful week. Check out the comment section. Check out the community tab, as there is a new Q&A post. All channel members have access to the Q&A post. Post some questions there if you want to have your questions specifically answered on the exclusive podcast that y'all get as channel members. I always get a guest person to record the podcast with. We usually have the likes of Michelle from Force Light Entertainment or Blaine from Criticless. So if you have any comments that you might want to ask that would not be appropriate for a typical stream, but you think we could spend a little bit more time to maybe chew and open up on, that's when the deeper, list X movies or list this movies would be probably better suited for. So if you have questions like that, go check out that community post that has recently been posted. There's also one on the Discord for those that have access to that one. You guys are wonderful, amazing, beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening and your week. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illick and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.